When I woke up and I heard the news that Erik ten Hag had been sacked from my football club, I immediately had to run and go get a haircut. So in case you missed the news, this morning I woke up, I am in the United States, so I found out that Erik ten Hag had finally been sacked from Manchester United. If you ask me, it's about 3 to 4 months too late. You give him the benefit of the doubt. He should have been sacked 2 weeks ago when the international break started, but yet they gave him at least a couple more games to try and figure things out, and he could not. So at long last, after a promising season and 2 seasons full of despair and pain and nothing but negativity and just constantly going in a downward trend that eventually resulted in us being in 14th place in the Premier League, Erik ten Hag has been sacked from my football club Manchester United. It's definitely a day to rejoice as a United fan. Obviously, not all of my content revolves around United, and I'm also not delusional enough to not talk about other clubs, but as a United fan, it is a great feeling. Now, you will definitely have some United fans out there who maybe feel like, or they didn't want the manager to get sacked for XYZ reasons, and those guys are stupid, because quite frankly, like I said, the guy has us in 14th place in his 3rd season in charge, and we just lost to a really bad West Ham team. We couldn't beat a Crystal Palace side that hadn't won a game all season. Our only wins this season so far are against Barnsley, Southampton, Brentford, and Fulham, and we've gotten dogged out in games so far this season. There was nothing to hold on to. I said it in my last video where I talked about the guy. Even if, let's say, he had won 3 out of his last 5 games, there was nothing he realistically could have done to turn around the entire season as a whole, or even anything going forward. The guy was essentially just entirely out of his depth. And real quick, boys, before I really start cooking this guy, if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the video so far, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. We drop weekly football videos, so don't forget to hit that noti bell so you don't miss an upload. And of course, boys, not new to the channel, welcome back. Glad to have you around for another video. But with that being said, boys, let's cook this bald fraud, okay? As I briefly mentioned, there wasn't always doom and gloom with this guy. When we first appointed Ten Hag, there was a sense that we had finally made the right appointment. After going through David Moyes and Brian Giggs for a little bit, and then we had Louis van Gaal, and then we had Jose Mourinho, and then we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and everyone so far to that point had failed. And then we had Ragnick, who took over for 6 months, and that was an abysmal, probably one of the worst 6 months of being a United fan ever. We finally landed this promising manager coming from Ajax. Great style of play. He had led this relatively unknown, underfunded team to the Champions League semi-final. There was this feeling that, you know what, maybe finally we're gonna turn things around. To his credit, he had a decent first season with the club. Granted, that season didn't get started on the best note, since we had some pretty embarrassing results at the beginning of the season. There was a lot of drama with Ten Hag when he first came in, also regarding the Harry Maguire situation. Ten Hag stripped him of the captaincy, which a lot of people kind of felt weird about, but since then we've seen Harry Maguire turn his performances around, so he got that decision right. And then you had the whole drama with Ronaldo, which, depending on how you stand and how you view football, and if Ronaldo is your GOAT in all time, that turned you away from Ten Hag instantly. If Ronaldo isn't your GOAT, then you probably didn't mind, but this left a very sour taste for a lot of United fans. Also, not even United fans, just even maybe people who were relatively interested in the club, who were fans of Ronaldo and knew what he had done with United. Ultimately, right, you can say Ten Hag came into this job and he got rid of Ronaldo. He stuck to his ground. He got rid of Ronaldo. You can say at least he was being ruthless and he wasn't letting players walk all over him, right? That's at least one caveat you could say. And it wasn't necessarily fully Ten Hag's fault. Ronaldo had fallen out with Ragnick beforehand, and honestly, in my opinion, that's kind of what snowballed into him falling out with Ten Hag. But alas, Ronaldo was gone, so now Ten Hag had to lead this team without Ronaldo, but he still had a bunch of other great players, and he did okay. We did manage to finish top 4. We managed at least the Carabao Cup, which isn't the best trophy in the world, but it's something, right? It's something for the players and the fans to at least get a hold of and say, okay, you know what, maybe we can kick on from here on forward. But again, like I said, it wasn't the prettiest season by far. We lost in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, so that was a big stain on the season. We lost to Man City 6-3 in a game where 2 players got hat tricks against us. We got demolished by our biggest rivals in Liverpool 7-0, and then we also made it to an FA Cup final where we lost 2-1 to who else but Man City. So again, not the prettiest season. There was a handful of performances to grab onto, but generally we got results at the end of the day, so it was all about what was going to happen in the next season, and that is where things began to fall apart. Oh, also, let's not forget the fact that this guy brought in Antony into the club. Honestly, that might be the biggest stain on Ten Hag's legacy, his career, on Manchester United ever. The fact that he brought in Antony for £100 million, euros, whatever it might be, I don't even care at this point. The guy guy could have been 50 pounds and I still would have been pissed. Antony is probably the worst transfer in football history, period. Not just United, not just the Premier League, not just Brazilian right wingers, football, period. The guy's a bum. Ten Hag brought him in, so that was another massive stain. But alas, right now talking about his second season in charge, again, guess what? Not the prettiest. Guess why? Because Ten Hag was tactically inept pretty much again the entire season. So with more experience under his belt, a little bit more of a semblance of, okay, this is a Ten Hag team, we got embarrassed. We had a Champions League campaign where we were in a group with Bayern Munich, Galatasaray, and Copenhagen. Granted, fine. Bayern Munich, you might not beat them, so what? They're one of the best teams in the world. We finished 4th place in this group. We finished below Copenhagen and Galatasaray. He should have been sacked then. That should have been it for him. Once he got bounced out of the Champions League group, he should have been gone. But alas, we stick with him for the rest of the season. And in a Premier League season where we finish in 8th place, again, 8th place. We finished top 4 the season prior. So this was a regression. We finished in 8th place, brother. Do you get what I'm saying, brother? This is not good. We got our ass handed to us so many times this season. We lost again to Man City 3-0. We lost to Bournemouth 3-0. We lost to Forest 2-1. We lost 4-0 to Crystal Palace. There was so many things wrong with this season. And yet the only thing that kept Ten Hag his job, which he won the game individually, deservedly so, was the FA Cup final. In that match, realistically, Ten Hag outplayed Pep. That was a one-off. That should not have kept him his job. We should have gave him the Louis van Gaal treatment. Thank you for the trophy, my son, but you gotta go. Okay, you know what? Season's over. At this point, the entire world thinks Ten Hag's gone. We have new owners, and you know what? They're interviewing candidates and all this good stuff, but instead, they decide to back him. You know what? Fair enough. This is your first season with us in charge. We're gonna see what you can do. We're gonna give you players that you're asking for. We're gonna back you. We're gonna give you some time. We're gonna extend your contract 1 more year as well, which takes us to where we are now. So not only did Ten Hag bring in Xerxes, he brought in freaking Ugarte, which isn't really an upgrade on our midfield. So he has some more players now that he really wants to go with. And guess what? We're sitting in 14th place. And you know why, right? Despite all these things that I'm telling you, we're currently in 14th. We got bounced out of the Champions League. We're getting clapped left, right, and center. It is because Ten Hag does not know how to build systems that are beneficial to our team, and that's just what it is. I didn't even mention the fact that at this point in time this season we also have a -3 goal difference, which a lot of that comes down to how he sets up our teams and how we set up defensively. So far the guy has led us to our worst start in a Premier League season ever. In the last 3 years that he's been here, or 2.5 years or whatever, we've scored some of the lowest goals in the entire Premier League period. So we're not even scoring goals. We have a terrible goal difference, again, looking over the last 2 to 3 seasons compared to every single team in the league, meaning if you stack us up against everybody, we're finishing at the bottom. We might get relegated with this guy. And I can list off stats after stats after stats about how this guy's getting it wrong and how bad he's had us playing. But point is, at least at the end of the day, the guy is gone. He cannot terrorize our football club anymore. There was no turning around. Players didn't like him anymore. The fans didn't trust him anymore. No one trusted him. So respectfully, Ten Hag, thank you for the memories, but you had to go, my brother. It's okay. Your time is done. But now it turns to the other question of who do United bring in? I have no idea. We'll see who we bring in. So reports are coming out apparently that we're in talks with pretty much a handful of promising managers. You have Ruben Amorim from Sporting. Apparently Nagelsmann is keen to take the job as well. I know we were talking with Xavi apparently. So there's talks already, and of course until somebody comes in, or until Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein officially say who we're going to be bringing in, it's going to be hearsay until then. So get ready to get berated with constant reports of United talking to this person, or we approached this person, or this person said this. Get ready for a lot of that, because it's going to be non-stop until we bring someone in. Whoever comes in next just needs to be ready to kind of hit the ground running. If I had a preference, I'd go for someone like Nagelsmann. He's a little bit more established. People like Amorim and even Xavi, despite the fact that he had the Barcelona job, they're not really experienced. At least with Nagelsmann, he's been a top manager at top clubs before, so he kind of knows what he's doing, press and a lot of stuff like that. All the kind of intricacies that come with managing a major club like United. So we'll see who comes in. Whoever comes in though, hopefully they just hit the ground running. They're able to execute their vision, get these players playing well. And as much as I don't like a handful of the players that are still at the club, we're seeing what Hansi Flick is doing with Barcelona. So even with players that might be bums or might not be as good as you think, you can still make them be good if you coach them properly. Inigo Martinez just held clean sheet against Mbappe, Vinny, and Rodrigo and Bellingham. So you see what I'm saying? We'll see who comes in, but at the end of the day, like I said, at least Ten Hag is gone.